Right, welcome ladies and gentlemen. The UK government is back once again with a streaming levy. A Netflix tax, as they call it. Netflix tax. They're back. I did a video on this a little while ago. And I thought at the time we won't hear much more about it. But no, lo and behold, they're back talking about this. Seemingly something that they really do want to do. And this is a disaster. This is a disaster. I also think it's a tacit admission from the government that they potentially do use the BBC to propagandise individuals. But I'm actually doing a video on that tomorrow with a journalist. So stay tuned for all of that on a much more in-depth scale. But we're going to be talking about this Netflix tax, as they call it. This is, of course, a direct response to the BBC and the TV license and basically defunding, right? This is them looking to get the funding elsewhere, which is odd that the government is in cahoots, you know, on that level. It's quite bizarre, but it's not bizarre when you start to look at a very, very big picture about all of this. The government just wants to tax you to oblivion anyway, so they don't seem to care, seemingly. But the justification for this is hilarious. So we're going to take a look at this. Please do hit subscribe, turn those bell notifications on, especially if you're a returning viewer that's not yet subscribed. And again, stay tuned for tomorrow's video. You're going to find it very, very insightful. So this, I thought we'd go to the two ends of the spectrum here. We've got The Guardian talking about this. Netflix and co should pay levy to fund crisis-hit UK drama sector, says MPs. And then we've also got the likes of The Telegraph. So two sort of polar opposites, really, on the spectrum, I guess. But let's take a look at The Guardian first and see what they've got to say. So Netflix and Amazon and other streaming services should pay a levy to fund crisis-hit UK drama sector, MPs have said, following concerns that their dominance could see distinctly British stories disappear from the small screen. These are the people that can't define what it is to be British or English, right? So what do you mean by distinctly British? What do you mean? What is it that you mean by that? The comedy from this is just palpable. The Cross-Party Culture, Media and Sport Committee, so this is important, it's cross-party, right? So this is not partisan, this is just everyone saying, yeah, actually, they need new tax breaks. New tax breaks to fund UK dramas produced by the BBC, ITV and Channel 4. Public service broadcasters who have seen their programme budgets squeezed whilst the cost of making shows have spiralled. The committee said there was currently a threat to such programming which was vital to the UK's identity, national conversation and talent development. Whose conversation? What are you looking to achieve by this? So this is a broader conversation I'm going to be having tomorrow, and it's an interesting one. But here they say this: major streamers should commit to 5% of their UK subscriber revenue into a cultural fund to help finance drama with British audiences in mind. Or how about this? The BBC, ITV and Channel 4 make good stuff. How about that? Because British audiences in mind, again, what does that mean? British audiences have switched off because they make garbage. So if they're going to just take more money from streamers to fund the same shit, what's the point of it? People still aren't going to watch it. It's like people still won't watch it. How bizarre. It said that ministers should force them if they fail to do so voluntarily. They'll just come out. They'll just pull out of the country. The UK is not a superpower. They'll just pull out of the country. They don't care. Like, what do they think is going to happen with this? High-end dramas can still draw large audiences when made and broadcast on traditional TV channels. Yeah, they can, when they make good ones. The first episode of Wolf Hall, The Mirror, and The Light, broadcast on the BBC at the end of last year, drew an audience of 4 million viewers in a few days. That's not a lot. That's not big numbers. That's terrible. However, there is a growing affordability problem. Peter Kosminski, Wolf Hall's director, has revealed that filming for the series was nearly called off weeks before it was scheduled to start because of budget pressures. In the end, expensive external scenes were cut, meaning there were more conversations in rooms in their place. Yeah, amazing. Jack Thorne, the writer of the global hit Adolescence, has questioned whether the Netflix show could have been made in the same way by the BBC because of the financial pressures it is facing after real-term cuts to the license fee. License fee's not been cut. It's gone up. It's not been cut. People have cut their license fees because the BBC makes shit. Others inside the TV industry claim the arrival of large streaming services has had a huge impact. Yeah, because they make stuff that's good. Obviously. They say that in their drive for subscriptions, they made hugely expensive shows costing up to 10 million an episode, which has had an inflationary impact on the business of making television. Right, you either want a capitalist society or you don't. I know the UK government really wants to go full-blown communist, but this is just capitalism. As a result, traditional British broadcasters have increasingly had to find international partners to fund the shows they want to make. Such agreements have been harder to come by as streamers have reined in their funding, leaving a list of potential shows by the BBC and others in limbo. Amazing. So anyway, it says this. MPs on the committee shared the concerns and backed radical action. While streamers like Netflix and Amazon have proved a valuable addition for the industry and economy, unless the government urgently intervenes to rebalance the playing field, for every adolescence adding to the national conversation, there will be countless distinctly British stories that never make it to our screens. What? So we've got to hear more about trans lesbians and Muslims? No thanks, I'm not interested in that. That's what they think is British conversations and British stories now. Right? People converting to Islam and a bunch of drag queens. That's what the BBC makes. Like, what? No. Kosminski said it was hugely welcome that the committee had backed a levy on streamers' revenue to support British broadcasters. High-end television, this is a brave thing to do in the current political climate and absolutely the right solution. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. The BBC, ITV and Channel 4 need to rethink their own programming. That's what they need to do. They need to do that. Government intervention is not going to work. And also, the government, right, gives back 25.5% of all production budgets spent in the UK directly back to movie studios. So they shouldn't be doing that in the first place, right? They're giving, but it's not a tax break. They're giving back the production budget, 25.5% of the production budget, just giving it back to them, and then they still pay tax on the remainder. Like, this is just nonsense. This is absolute nonsense. Maybe you should be funneling some of that money that you could be getting from movie studios into this, rather than a tax on streamers. What are you doing, you mentalists? However, I do think it's important to stipulate that the fund created by this levy should only be available to productions which are either commissioned or co-commissioned by a public service broadcaster. As far as I can see, this isn't made clear in the report and is an essential aspect of the 5% levy. Netflix said the UK is Netflix's biggest production hub outside of North America, and we want it to stay that way, but in an increasingly competitive global market, it's key to create a business environment that incentivizes rather than penalizes investment, risk-taking and success. Levies diminish competitiveness and penalize audiences who ultimately bear the increased cost. Yeah. Netflix is literally funding and investing in the UK, right? They fund part of the film industry in the UK, and yet they're going to get penalised for this, which will then get passed on to the customers. No, they'll just pull out. Short-sighted policies from inept retards in government. We need an IQ test for politicians. This is ridiculous. These people are morons. Anyway, there's a good article here from the Telegraph. They sort of just lay into it, basically. So output has stagnated, even if there was a rogue increase in GDP at the end of last week. Job vacancies have started to plummet. Businesses are closing their doors. And the soaring welfare bills are crippling the government's finances. Still, never mind about any of that. Our MPs have figured out exactly what the British economy needs right now. Another tax rise. Yep. Just ridiculous. Netflix tax. It's completely unnecessary. Worse, the demented belief that yet another fiddly tax is the answer to every problem is symbolic of everything that is wrong with the UK's political class. Yeah, they're idiots. According to the Commons culture, blah, blah, blah. They're just saying that, yeah, Netflix, Disney Plus, Apple TV, Amazon should be forced to pay 5% of their British revenue into a fund that would then be used to finance distinctively homegrown programs. If they don't agree to do so voluntarily, then the government should make them pay up. Just ridiculous. Unless the government urgently intervenes to rebalance the playing field. But people still won't watch it. For every adolescence adding to the national conversation, there will be countless distinctly British stories that never make it to our screens. Do these people really think we should all be paying an extra couple of pounds a month for every streaming service we subscribe to? Yeah, no. Absolutely absurd. Absurd. Yeah, I mean, there's just more here, but yeah, it's just ridiculous. So there's not a whole lot else really to go through. I've kind of covered a lot of this in my own talking points, but it's just ridiculous. So there you go. We might get another tax because our political class are idiots, and they're actually using the BBC, ITV, Channel 4 to propagandise you, which I'll be covering tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. Take care. Bye-bye now.